So thanks everybody for joining. Let's jump in. So what we'll be covering today is I want to give you some background about Buzzy. I'm not sure if people here are new to Buzzy and what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. The key features that we're going to be talking about today are FlexiBuild, and that's all about how you can do more with AI. So Buzzy's been out of the market for a while, and you can use a prompt to create an application. You can integrate that with Figma. You can use your Figma file. And then we've released another new feature, which is called Automarkup, which makes that integration with Figma a whole lot easier. And then we'll have a here shortly from one of our partners. So they're called Teem. If I call them Burlesque, by the way, that was their old name, but we'll hear from them. We've been working with them for a while, and they've got some cool examples of things that they've created with Buzzy. And then if you wait till the end, we've got some special coupons, a special deal for you that is a limited offer. So please wait around, and that's going to make things a lot easier. So you'll be able to try out a lot of the stuff at a lot cheaper price. Hey, it's Adam from Buzzy. Don't miss out. We've got so many cool videos coming. Subscribe to our channel now, whether it's up, down, sideways, or whatever. Thanks for watching. So to start with the background, creating an application is hard. You start off with an idea, whether you're a new startup or you're a business who wants to build something, and there's a huge gap or chasm that you need to jump to be able to build a web application or an Android app or an iOS app. And if we look at that in a bit of detail, you go through a traditional software development process. You've got the concept to planning phase. You've got to plan your project. You then need to go through a design phase where you're going to do your UX design, your UI design, and then you've got to do that painful design to develop a handoff. There's a lot of effort required in that. And then you go through your development. You've got your front-end development and your back-end development. And each of those and you might be doing integration. Each of those have got a number of stages underneath them, which take a lot of skill and a lot of effort. The next phase over here is the testing phase. So we've got quality assurance and then things like security and performance. And then you've got to get the application live. So whether it's a web application, a mobile application, you need to get it into the iOS and Android stores, and that takes a lot of effort. And then once it's live, there's a whole ton of work that needs to happen. You need to make sure that you're going to apply fixes, you're going to enhance the application, and so on. So there's a lot of effort. And really, there's some key painful bits over there. I mentioned before, going from the designer to the developer is a really painful, complex process. And every iteration that you go through your application, it makes it better. But with this, every application, you're multiplying that pain of going through that design to dev handover. And then there's that huge cost of maintaining the application. The result is that traditional application development is slow and expensive. And that's what we're out there to help with. So we're aiming to make things easier. Now, if you look at AI, there's the promise of AI. You go from an idea and you get that working application in a matter of minutes. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. If you use an AI, if you're going to use ChatGPT and you give it something that's going to spit out, thousands or tens of thousands of lines, it's going to be too complex for that AI. There's too much information, and it makes it really, really hard. The other thing is that the AI can't be trusted. If you've got a development team and you give them, tens of thousands, 100,000 lines of code, it's non-deterministic. If you did it 1 minute and you came back and you did it the next minute or several hours later, you'll probably get a different result. So it's something that when you're looking at something that needs to be very precise, it's not reliable, secure, or performant. And that's something that we're looking to address as well. With Buzzy, we do things a very, very different way. We've got a set of core code that we write as humans. And what we're doing is we're taking what you give the AI, the ability, and we're changing that into something that our robust code can actually create applications with. So these are the types of things that why you see AI today, the most traditional approach over here is that you can fix little chunks of code, and we're going to change that with Buzzy. And that's really what we're looking to do. So we've got, if you think of your application that you're building, it's like trying to get to the top of the mountain. And there's a number of different stages in that. Now, the first stage to get you part of the way up the mountain is that you can kickstart the AI, the idea with AI. So in that kickstart phase, you start with a prompt, and then you can go into our design editor and you can keep prompting it, and that will get you part of the way up the mountain. Now, till today, till we've had FlexiBuild, we got you sort of a small part of the way there. It's way quicker. Literally in a matter of minutes, you can get a full stack working application. You can give it to users. But what you could do with that application and how you could change it was quite limited. So those are the types of things that we're going to look at addressing. The second phase over here is that when you get to a point that the AI, has done something, but you still need to make changes, but you want high fidelity control of that without having to change code, that's where we can enhance with Figma. So we allow you to jump into Figma, which is the #1 UX design tool that's out there. And designers know this. If you don't have the skills or not willing to learn them, you can definitely find somebody who's got those skills relatively easily. And then you can get control of that application and do a whole lot of changes without having to change it. And then we understand that depending on what you're building, so different types of apps have different types of requirements. The ability to extend with code is something that's definitely important. Actually, cool. Hopefully that's a bit better in terms of the quality of the audio. So the result is when you're building with Buzzy, really what we're looking to help you do is to create web and mobile applications in a fraction of the time, at a fraction of the cost, with a fraction of the team and skill set. So that's just give me some. So the overall effect is we're trying to reduce over that complex process the amount of time and effort that it takes to be able to do things. So what we're doing over here is absolutely awesome. And so for today, we're going to actually create an application. So the first feature that we're going to talk about is FlexiBuild. For those of you who've been using Buzzy for a while, we know that you can build something like the portfolio application over here on the left very quickly. And then you go into that enhance with Figma and extend with code phase to get it looking like the application on the right. Now, that's a lot faster than going through a traditional development phase, because you're using design skills and then a minimal amount of development skills if needed to get to that. FlexiBuild's goal is to get you all the way there as quickly as possible. Now, you can still go through those phases and pull it into Figma. But so the types of things you can do with FlexiBuild is you can provide more complex instructions. So as an example, today you could say something like, when you add, let's say if you're building a recipe application, when you add a recipe, I want to have a 3-screen wizard. The first screen, you're going to get the recipe name and an image. The second screen, you're going to get the ingredients. And the third screen, you're going to put the method in. So before, you couldn't do that. Before, you would have had to jump. You would have been able to have a form that captures the recipe. It would have been a single form. And then you would have had to jump into Figma to make those changes to make it a multi-screen wizard. Doing things like adding chat, like common patterns, usage patterns, again, probably would have required you to get into something like Figma, or into Figma to be able to do that. So we'll start to enhance that and add many, many more patterns. We can do this relatively quickly. So that's just some examples of how you can use FlexiBuild today to do more. The other cool thing that we can do is we can click and prompt. So it's super easy to make edits. And then we've got the ability to now, and this is very, very new, literally in the last few days, we can now actually add code widgets using FlexiBuild. So let's have a look at this. I'm just going to refresh this. I'm just running, as I mentioned before, over here. Let me close this down. Running on a development server. So I'm going to create an application. I'm actually going to create a few different applications. Let's go over here. So we're going to go through, the first one I want to do is, let's start. We're going to create a stock portfolio application. If you look at the instruction that I've given, I want a stock portfolio application that can manage a set of portfolios where each one of the sets of stocks, there'll be a stock table. There's a portfolio, we'll have a name, description, and a code widget, which will be used to show aggregation statistics, so how the stocks are broken up in the portfolio, about the purchases in the portfolio. A stock purchase would have a date, and then there would be another code widget for displaying things like the price history and that, so stock information in here. So let's go through this, and this is where I'm kind of just my fingers over here and hoping everything's kind of working on this server. Here we go. So for those of you who haven't seen Buzzy before, the first thing we start off with is what we call an app brief. This is like a mini product requirements document. Gives you an overview of your application, describes what it is, including the data requirements. Now, at the moment, you can't edit in here. We'll be able to do that. If you're using our Figma plugin, you can edit it along the way, and we'll add that in, shortly. So you'll probably see those changes come in the next week or so where you'll be able to edit it. Now, once you've got the brief, now I could go back. I could have hit the back button and changed the prompt to change the brief. But what we'll see over here is that it's going to come up with a data model. Now, again, you can't edit this in this version of FlexiBuild, but again, I expect by next week or the week after, you'll be able to do it here, right here within the wizard. You can do this in the Figma plugin. So again, it's given us the idea of what the data model is. If you're not a data person and not understand how databases work, this is really, really important because it's going to drive your application. So it's got things over here like a stock portfolio, it's got the name, it's got the subtable, and so on. And it's also got that code widget, which we talked about before, where we're going to put some special logic in to display things. And then we've got things like the stock price, and then we've got a stock purchase, which has got that, and it's got the code widget as well. So with FlexiBuild, we now understand those instructions to add that. Now we'll give it a look and feel. Let's choose this new mint look and feel. All those looks and feels are available as Figma design UI kits, so you can fully customize them to whatever you want them to look like. So I mentioned before that the 3 phases, we've got Kickstart with AI, enhance with Figma if you need to, and then extend with code. Obviously, we're in the Kickstart phase now where we're just using FlexiBuild. But if you wanted to bring this into Figma and then change those UI kits and apply your own branding and look and feel on that, then definitely Figma is the way that you will do that today. You can make certain changes just using the AI if you want to change things like the colors and the theme and that, you can definitely do that in the Kickstart phase. But if you want that next level of control, that's where you're going to need to jump into Figma for that. So we're creating the screens over here. What I'm going to do, just while this is going on, I'm going to actually create another application. And let me just find this. And this was kind of a bit of a fun one that I created just before the presentation. So we're going to create another application in the background. And this one's going to be a Pong application. If you know that online digital game, I've said create an application where we can play Pong. Each game has 2 players, and there's a data score result, and there's a code widget to house the online game. So we're actually going to put the game online, and then we're going to create a landing page that encourages users to sign up, and each player has a name, blah, blah, blah. So again, how good your prompt is will determine how good the output is. Now, that doesn't mean you want to create this massive prompt. If you give it a massive prompt, it's probably going to get confused. But you can definitely go through a lot more detail than that. But again, this is why we take you through this process of having a look at the interpretation of that prompt, and then you can improve it. You can go back and make changes. So for this, I'm just going to go in and create the data model. And then this is for our Pong game. So I've got 2 going along over here in parallel. And we'll see this. Let's see where we're at. So this one over here is building the screens and components. Now you'll see this auto fix come up. So FlexiBuild has this capability built into it where it's building the screens based on what you ask for, and then it will actually go through and fix it. Now, what this does mean is that we are using a lot more AI tokens. At the moment, we're primarily using OpenAI as our backend for the AI. We're using a lot more tokens to be able to do this, but it just saves you a ton of time and effort. Before FlexiBuild, it would create the application, then you would have to go and make those changes and fixes. So it's doing it for you. So the quality that's coming out of it for the cost of an extra few tokens is definitely worth it. You'll see that one of the things that we've done with FlexiBuild is that we we are just trying to do some cost recovery on those tokens. So you'll see that when you sign up and you get it, if you get a free trial, we'll give you 1,500 free tokens, and that should allow you to create an initial app and do some changes. Now, you can then, if you want to make further changes, then you need to purchase those tokens. They're about $7 for 2,000 tokens, and depending on your changes that you're doing, that will help you. Let's see where we are over here. So let me choose that one. And I'll choose the light design over here for our Pong game, and we'll see how we go. So we'll get that one going in the background. So back over here, so we're creating the application. Now we had like 3 minutes and it's generating the sample data. So it's getting close to the end of the process. So again, this is used a lot more tokens. It's going to cost a little bit more. And let's have a look at the first version of this application. Now, this is the design editor within Buzzy. Again, we're in the Kickstart phase. So we can go through and we can change this. Now, if you want to, let's say, have a look at this, in mobile mode, you can have a look at that, what it's roughly going to look like in mobile. If you want to have a look at, by the way, when we create a mobile application, it's a native application. We're using React Native behind the scenes. So it's not just a web app that's put into mobile, but it will give you a pretty good idea over here of what it looks like. There's a couple of changes that you'll see over here. We've got this, so you can skip to the particular screen that's been created. So you can see all the screens that the AI has created for you. We've also got this edit mode. So let's go into the applications for the stock portfolio, and we're going to make some changes. So this is pretty cool. This is the first version of the application, and it's got our portfolios. And then we can see that it's got a placeholder for the code widget, and then it's got stocks that are within that portfolio. Now, one of the things I didn't give an instructions for was for this code widget of what I wanted in that actual code widget. So what I want is I want a pie chart. I'm going to paste a prompt in here that I've prepared. I want to write code for a pie chart. So hang on a sec. I'm going to give it some instructions, and I'm going to go from, okay, actually, let me just give that. I'm going to make that a capital over there just so it knows exactly what we're talking about. The point-to-click stuff will work on code widgets. For now, it's not working, but I'll show you some of the changes you can make with that. But we'll just get this going in the background. So we're going to add a code widget. Code widget should aggregate the child stock, aggregate the child stock purchase information and present this in a format in a pie chart. Now, there's a couple of little gotchas in terms of how this works at the moment, but you'll get to see this in action, and this is pretty cool. So the pattern that we're seeing over here is that you can use FlexiBuild to create the application, and we're going to tell it to regenerate parts of the application. And then we can start to modify it using this chat. Now, FlexiBuild, I'm going to show you the edit feature in a second once it finishes doing this, but it's giving us a lot more capability to go through and build that application up and then use this chat to be able to make very specific changes to the application and get it to that next level. This is all within that Kickstart phase before you have to go anywhere near something like Figma or write any specific code for yourself. So I'm just going to take a quick sip of water here. And again, this is the Pong application that we were building. And again, it's generating the data. I'm going to give it an instruction as well to add a Pong game widget. And again, this is we'll see if this works. Again, so here we go. Here's the application that this is the stock one. Let's have a look at this. Go into the diversify tech over here and check that out. So this over here is a code widget that is written to give us a pie chart. Now, this code widget could do anything, right? It can do a Pong game, it can do everything, but it understands how to interact with the data in here. So again, it's using the data that's in the Buzzy data table. So if we looked at the stock purchase, and let's just go in here. So this has got an edit mode on it, and let's just say we're going to purchase, and we're going to change that to 1,000 just to kind of illustrate the point. Let's go back over here. And then what we'll see over here is that that's, that's going to, let me just, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh this. Let's go in here. You can see now I increased the output, and now that's there. Now that will actually happen live if you do that. At the moment, we've just got that working. The first time you come into the screen, it will render the code widget, but this can actually interact. Now, that's pretty cool in terms of, you know, you think about if you had to give the instructions to the developer to create this entire stock application and then add a custom code widget, this is like next level. We're super, super excited about this. So this is, so that's kind of just a quick look at some of the capabilities. Actually, I'm going to get this. I'm going to do the same thing for the FlexiBuild one. Let's go in. Sorry for the Pong game. So let's see what's come up for our Pong game. And then we can go over here. We can, let's get started. We can see over here. So we've got a competition. And then we've got, this is the game widget. Now we haven't told it what we want to have in this game widget yet. So I'm going to give it an instruction. So in the game widget, just add a simple Pong game, make sure the code is robust. When the score gets updated, update the score in the game details. So we'll see how this goes. Again, I haven't spent a lot of time on this and so on. But just to, oops, let me get that going in the background. So we'll get that Pong game going. So let's have a look at this. Now, I want to show you some of the other features within FlexiBuild. So one of the cool things we can do is we can now click on an item on the screen. So I went into edit mode. You can now click on an item on the screen. You'll see that selection. So if I, for example, over here, oops, I didn't mean to do that. If I see over here what I did, actually, I'll go back to, now, when you're in edit mode, if you want to navigate back, you need to be able to hold down on a PC, it's a control button. On a Mac, it's the command button. And that will allow you to navigate while staying in edit mode. If you're in preview mode, you can navigate around and use the application as you would a user. But when you're in edit mode, because you might want to change things, you'll get this highlight selection. So I can do things in here, like, for example, I can say, this is like the fragment card. So I can now pinpoint an item and then give an instruction. And this gives you a whole lot more granularity. So I'm going to say change this to a table view. Let's try this. So this is a card view at the moment, and I've selected all those. So let's have a look at that, and we can do that. So again, what FlexiBuild is allowing you to do is giving you a lot more flexibility, which is why we named that, to build more sophisticated applications while in this Kickstart phase with AI. And we see this as absolutely next level, super, super exciting in terms of what you can do. Let's have a look at just while we're waiting for that one to generate. We'll come back here. Let's look at our Pong game. Let's go into a game. Hey, check this out. So here we've got a Pong game. Now, I don't know if you noticed, the score result is going up over there. So that's not inside the Pong game itself. So this little code widget, and again, we could stretch it out, and then again, this is just obviously the first version. This little code widget here is communicating with the Buzzy application and updating the score. Now, so now you've got an application which has a leaderboard for the game, and we've got the game itself. So again, this is just an example of where we're piecing this together, and we've done this all with AI without writing a single line of code. Okay, so we'll see over there. Now it'll start. Set my score back to 0. So anyway, so that's good example of that. Let's go back in here and let's have a look at. You got to remember over there to command click, and we'll go back into. Actually, that should have changed to the table view. Why did I? Let's try that again. So I'm going to go I'm going to go up a level and go to the container. So change this to a list view. So again, probably a bit of playing around to understand what you can do. And again, you can chat with this and get it to do things, make changes. And again, this is going to absolutely speed up your development, dramatically. Cool. So that's the really the core features that we're talking about in terms of FlexiBuild. So just as a reminder, so you can do much more complex stuff and complex instructions to build specific bits of applications. It understands certain patterns like, you know, multi-screen wizards, adding chat to capability. You've got this click and prompt capability, so you can make super easy edits. And then we've got this code widget support. So now you can build more sophisticated application and integrations in there as well. And if you'd seen last demos of us where we had stock prices, we had live stock feeds coming in code widgets, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. So let's have a look over here. I want to see if it made that change. Oh, you got to just always remember to, I don't know why. Did I change it in there? Yeah, I'm not sure why that's not working, but we'll need to take a look at that. But anyway, that's the idea of FlexiBuild. Do lots of cool stuff without having to do things. So I want to move on to the next feature. So we've talked a lot about being in the Kickstart phase and with FlexiBuild and all the cool stuff you can do over there. Now, the next stage after that is if you want to enhance with Figma. Now, we know that Figma is the #1 design tool that's out there today. There's some new ones, AI ones that are coming up with. We hope to integrate with them in the future. But with Figma First Draft, I don't know if you've had a look at that. You can give a prompt and create a Figma file. That's an absolute game changer. But using the traditional Buzzy plugin is quite labor intensive. So we wanted to make this a whole lot easier. With Figma, the Buzzy Figma plugin, what you'd normally have to do, for example, in this simple application, you would have to go and mark up your applications. You have to define this as a screen. Let me just click down over here. So you'd have to define, if you were in the design, you'd have to go and define this as a screen. You then need to go and mark up all the little bits and pieces in here. So all the fields, forms, and so on. Again, each of these. So depending on what you're building, this would usually take a fair amount of effort. So you're probably looking about between half an hour to 60 minutes per screen. And then the amazing thing is you didn't have to do any of the developments. You didn't have any of that design to dev pain of handing over because it would generate all the code. So it's still incredibly quicker than doing things the traditional way. But you know what? We wanted to try and remove as much of that as a process. And that's what Automarkup's about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this file. And this is actually interesting to see me do this because if you wanted to reset a file that you've auto-marked up, you can do that. So I'm going to do a few different things over here. So I'm going to delete our brief. So I'm going to clear it. I'm going to clear the data model. And by the way, setting up a data model, field by field, that took a bit of effort and time and that as well. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to clear the role assignments, all the Buzzy markup on all the the components on this screen. So we are starting with a blank screen that could have been created with Figma First Draft, or you've got an existing Figma file, and now you're going, okay, cool, let's auto-mark this up. So the first thing we do is we look at an image of the file and we scan for those screens. And again, you might have a fairly large Figma file to go and mark up all those screens. You might also have other frames on the canvas, on the Figma canvas that you don't want to mark up. So you can deselect them here. And this one, I've got all of them, and I'm just going to go to the next level. So the next thing that we need to do is once we've confirmed those layers is we need to generate a brief. Now remember, a brief is like a mini product requirements document. It describes the core functionality, some of the high-level data modeling things. So it includes some of the functionality here. The user roles, the data requirements. So for example, a meal contains this, a workout contains this, we've got workout exercises. So in this little fitness application, now we can go and edit each one of these. Now remember I said in the workspace we'll allow you to do that. So you can do that within the Figma plugin, and we'll have that available within the workspace soon. So if something wasn't correct, you can do that. The next phase is once you've got that brief, you can then generate the data model. So the data model is the underlying database of your application. So you've got to understand how data modeling works, but usually you would bring in like an information architect or a technical person that would help you with that data modeling. In this example, Buzzy will do that for you, make best efforts using AI to come up with a data model. So it's looking at the images that are on the screen. It's looking at all the fields in each one of these screens, and then that's going to be used to define the data model. Just this step, if you're designing an application from a Figma file saying, hey, give me an idea of what the data model is going to look like, just this step has an immense value. So even if you were using Buzzy just for the Automarkup capability, just for creating the data model, that's going to save product managers and designers and developers a whole ton of time and effort. So that does take a bit of time. Now, in this model, we are using the OpenAI, the new reasoning model, which is the OpenAI 01 preview. So you get a lot better quality. Again, it does use a lot more tokens. So you do need to purchase some extra Buzzy tokens. We're probably seeing that each screen takes about 300 Buzzy tokens. So check this out. So this has now come up with the data model. It's got meals, workouts. Again, every one of these items in here are editable. So you can change the field types, or you could come in here and change, it got that wrong or whatever it is. So you can go through that. You can get fields that it might have missed. And so on. But it understands things like workouts have subtables of exercises. So it's understanding standard data model capabilities like one-to-many relationships and many-to-many relationships. So we'll just continue on over here. And I'm going to go through and let's mark up all these screens. So again, this is not a complete application. I would work in chunks of apps. It does take I wouldn't do like an entire 50-screen app. One will cost a lot of money to be able to do that. I would get subsets of the application working. So like maybe, 3 to 5 screens at a time, working and mark them up, make sure that, again. So this is just what you would have seen, in terms of just, if you go and do this manually with a Buzzy plugin, it would probably take you a few hours to go and do this. You would have had to create the data model, field by field. Then you would have had to go and mark the screens up and all the capabilities. And now what this can do in a matter of minutes is going to save you a ton of time. So super, super exciting during that. So now what we're seeing is that people are using what we can do with Buzzy's AI and FlexiBuild together with this auto markup. So you can generate an application with Buzzy AI, and then just while it's doing that, if you go into an application, so let's go back to the workspace over here, and you go into design, I can use Figma. If you click this and follow these instructions, it will pull that application into Figma for you and create the Figma file for you. I mean, that's a feature that we've had for a while. It's an absolute game changer. And then that Figma file is based on a UI kit. It's super, super simple and quick to be able to modify that. And now you can then start adding additional screens and then use auto markup to mark up those screens really quickly. So that's the the beauty of what we're seeing over here with auto markup. So the few minutes that this takes is saving you hours and hours of work. So and again, we are using the 01 preview model over here. This T-shirt case study, this is a great example of how you can integrate Buzzy with external AI and systems. It goes through how we started with the prompt. This was before FlexiBuild, builds the first version. It then pulls it into Figma. So we import it into Figma, it constructs the 60 screens or whatever it is, 46 screens, 65 components, all in Figma. You can then tweak it to look how you want it to look and feel. And then we started doing some code integration. So we use Leonardo AI for the image generation. So it's a T-shirt application that allows you to generate images to put on a T-shirt. And then for the printing of the T-shirt, we did an integration with Printful. All this user interface is done within Buzzy, and we're using the API integrations to get to Printful. And then the last thing it does is it actually goes through a checkout with Stripe, and you can actually pay for the T-shirt. And we provide you all the sample code for this. So where we've done extensions beyond the standard Buzzy, we give you that. So that's a great example. So here we go. So this is done. So our markup over here is done. So we can create this application. I'm going to just go in here and I'm going to call this FlexiBuild 342. We're going to create a new app. Let's create this. So this is the first publish. It will take a bit of time. So the Buzzy, what's happening here is the Buzzy Figma plugin is now communicating with the Buzzy server, and it's going to construct that application on the Buzzy server. So if we looked at this, and just by the way, I'm going to generate some sample data here. So if we look at this, let's have a look at this on the Buzzy workspace. So this is the brand new fitness application that we just created. You can see over here, it's got 5 screens, 7 components, 5 data tables. If we had a look at some of these data tables, the sample data is not created. So it's created all those data tables for me. And this is the backend database that exists for every single Buzzy application that is custom for that specific application. So let's see over here. Now we can start seeing that it's creating the sample data in the background. So we'll have a look at that. And then let's have a look at this. Now, by the way, like all these applications you can share with users and start getting feedback. If you remember what I said, we want to improve that life cycle of building applications. Now, this is the live application from that Figma file that we just auto-marked up. And how cool is this? So we've got, we can go into, go into all our different workouts. We can go into evening stretch over here. Let's see this. We can add exercises to here. So let's just see. We're going to add a squat. We're going to do 10 reps. We add that exercise. That's added it to this database. This is a live application that we took a Figma file a few minutes ago and we turned it into a working application. We could now share this with users just on the browser. And if you want to put it into the app stores, you can do that as well. But you could share this with them and modify this application all from Figma. Now, if I want to make a change in Figma, you just come in, you make that change in here, and you just click update the screen on that. Again, we just sped up that whole cycle of going through that. You don't have to do that design to dev, painful handover and that. What we want to use developers for is doing that really hard stuff, writing those code widgets. We showed you a few simple solutions before, but that's where the complex developer work and the integration with the backends and in the example like with the Buzzy shirt thing with external AI or with external legacy systems, that's where you want to use those developer skills of yours to be able to do the really, really cool stuff and leave the boilerplate stuff over here to Buzzy. So that really concludes the auto markup part of my demo. I mean, I don't know if you guys are just going, this is absolutely like insanely awesome. We actually got a working application over here, with navigation. We could come in, we could add a workout. There's the form over there. We can, we've actually got this working as an application, and you can create content, you can view content and so on based on the Figma file, the brief, the data model that we defined, and then it automatically marks up the screens. Now, again, it's not going to get everything right 100% of the time, but you've got that Figma file that you can go and change things in with auto markup and then just hit update. So that's wrapping things up over here. I wanted to hand over to one of our Buzzy partners. Now, if you're looking at becoming a Buzzy partner, please reach out to us. We've got a marketplace. It's early days.
That's fine. All right. Well, thank you. And hello from Bangkok, everybody. Congrats, Adam and Dave, on FlexiBuild and auto markup. Impressive, really impressive stuff. Definitely a big leap forward for Buzzy. And I'm looking forward to getting in there and having a play with it, seeing what I can make. So we've worked closely with the Buzzy team for almost 3 years now, and there are 3 things that really stand out about our partnership. Firstly is the broad range of projects and founders that we get to work with. Second is the support we get from Adam and the team, which goes beyond support really, and is really a collaboration. And finally, the speed that the Buzzy team is developing their platform, that hunger to constantly make it easier for founders to launch their apps, is something that, as a founder myself, really resonates. So the idea behind Teem is to help founders move from idea to launch to market and beyond in the most efficient way possible. Our model is a hybrid of an agency and director freelancer approach. So agencies can have access to diverse skill sets, but often at higher costs, while freelancers are flexible. But how do you choose the right ones? What happens when your project needs additional skill sets or people? So we have a roster of highly vetted freelancers. Essentially, they're all experts we've worked with before. We'll assemble a team for you, tailor to your project. We really encourage you to think of these guys as your team, to the extent where some of them are even on the pitch decks of the startups that they work with. A team can be any size. It can start as one developer, grow from there, and add more roles as your project evolves. We work on hourly rates with no fixed costs, which means we can be very flexible. For example, some clients set weekly labor budgets that we stay within, while we work with other clients to design an MVP that fits into their total launch budget. Our process just starts with a chat, really, where you tell me where your project is at now, and just as importantly, what your larger vision is. Then I'll assign a project lead who'll likely be a designer or a developer. They'll scope the work with you and provide an estimate before starting to build your product. Do you want to just flick down to the next screen, please, Adam? Some of these, maybe, can you make it any bigger? I mean, that's all right. That's all right. That's fine.
You gave me a doc, so.
All right, so here's a sample of some apps that we've built using Buzzy. Starting on the top left is Livinity, which is one of the larger apps that we've worked on, which is rolling out to 30 lifestyle communities with around 500 members in each location. So it's about 15,000 users, which at times might be concurrent users as well. There was some quite complex event booking functionality in this app, and we've really had that above and beyond support from Buzzy when we've needed it to pull this together. Beneath that, on the bottom left, is one-tap feedback, which is in about 50 Zambrero Mexican quick service restaurants in Australia, which coincidentally is where we are based, even though I'm in Bangkok right now, and that's also where Buzzy is based, in Sydney. Now, one-tap looks deceptively simple, but there were some challenges which we overcame using Buzzy. On the right are two apps leveraging AI LLMs. So on the top right is Tutia, which is an AI strategy generator. The big vision for this one is very, very cool and very ambitious, but we actually managed to get the MVP live for 5,000 USD, and there's absolutely no way we could have done that if we hadn't have used Buzzy. And below in the last one, just the last example on the below right-hand corner is one of my favorites, which is a virtual stylist app, still in closed beta, which uses AI to identify, tag, and organize items of clothing from photographs. So that gives you some idea, obviously very quick run through, but that gives you some idea of the range and the breadth of apps that is possible to build on Buzzy. And obviously with the new features, they're going to be even easier and faster to get to MVP stage as well. On the next page are some of our most common and most requested services. Again, these services these are just examples. We can assemble a team to do almost anything you need. For example, once your app is live, what's your validation strategy? How are you measuring the value your users are getting from your product, and how are you going to lean into that? How are you marketing to get more users? What does MVP 1.2 on Buzzy look like, for example? So finally, to help you take that leap and get your idea out of your head and into the world, if you engage with us before 15th of November, we will pay for the first 2 hours of freelancer work for you. But just give me a call. The call costs nothing. I really do love speaking with founders and hearing about the problems you're solving, and I'd love to help in any way I can. That's us.
Yeah. So if you want to book a call with these guys, they really sort of know their way around Buzzy. They can help accelerate you. We're seeing, it doesn't matter whether you're a partner, a developer, or a customer. They're really, they've got some great talent in that. So yeah, please reach out. So Marcel, thanks heaps for that. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or can we go to the special offer?
Yeah, no, I guess just pointing out that we can jump in at any stage of a project, like whether you're still thinking about launching or starting to build on Buzzy, or if you've gotten to a point where now you're at Figma and you're kind of stuck on Figma, we can jump in there as well. We can help for a few hours. We can help for several months and ongoing support as well. So any kind of size or length of engagement that you need, we're here.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcel. So yeah, so look, our partner community is so important to us. We provide the platform, but really rely on partners like the Teem guys who just do that amazing work with the customers. Obviously, we've got customers doing the builds themselves if they've got the skills to do that. But yeah, please reach out to a partner. If you think you're becoming a Buzzy partner, reach out to us. We've got enablement materials and that. And I think there's an opportunity for partners to collaborate with each other as well. So I think there's an awesome opportunity over here to take Buzzy out and do some amazing stuff. And really, we've got to make it work for you guys. So I wanted to get to the special offer. So I mentioned before that this new FlexiBuild capability and the Automarkup capability is amazing, but unfortunately, it does use a ton more tokens out there, and we're using some of the newer models which do cost a lot more. You get better results. But this offer, what it'll do is it'll give you 50% off. So normally you're paying $7 for 2,000 tokens. If you use the special offer, use this code over here. You'll get this. If you go to this QR code over here, it'll should take you to it. If you increase the quantity to 2, so it'll default to 1, which is $7. If you increase the quantity to 2, you'll then get that special offer with this discount code. So please QR code this, screenshot this, get the word out. Again, like it does. We've got literally hundreds of customers signing up every day that each of them go through. We give you 1,500 free tokens. For those of you who are purchasing monthly subscriptions, we'll give you a set of tokens. We're busy working that out at the moment, but I expect probably by, because we just released this literally on Friday, the Automarkup stuff, it's pretty new, but new subscriptions that we couldn't give you a massive amount in the trial because we just don't have enough funding for that. So we're asking you to help, fund this. Again, it's not a massive amount of money, but we are trying to make it a bit cheaper for you to get started and have a play with it. Just remember as well, like, don't waste those tokens on doing rubbish stuff. Like, crap in, crap out. So give it a good prompt, give it good instructions. If you're using Automarkup, give it a well-structured Figma file. There's lots of information on our website and our documentation on how to do that. So yeah, huge thanks to everybody. We do get a lot of questions. What's involved in taking Buzzy to the next stage? Like, how do we get it into the app stores and how do we get it onto our own website? You do need a Buzzy deployment plan for that. And that deployment plan, we've got some special offers. So make sure if you look at our website, look at the special offers we've got at the moment. They start from about $50 a month. That will give you both a web app server and apps in the app store, which is like super competitive price. Again, every deployment of Buzzy is single tenant. So you get your own database cluster, you get your own compute, and then you can put apps in the app stores as well. Now, setting up those apps in the app stores, if you haven't done it before, that's definitely why I'd say reach out to a partner like Teem to help you do that. It just, again, that's not a Buzzy thing. That's just dealing with each one of those. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. I really, really appreciate it. Reach out to us. We've got a Discord. Reach out to us at support@buzzy.buzz. It's probably the best way to get in touch with us. Discord's kind of there for like the more free form, less formal chat. And let us know if we can help you. We'd love to hear what you're doing with Buzzy. Your feedback is so, so important to us. If you hit a problem and we don't know about it, then we're not going to be able to fix it. If you tell us about it or scream about it, we'd love that. So yeah, please tell us what you try to do, what was hard, and how do we make it better. So we're constantly updating the product and getting it better. But again, like, this is our passion, right? So, and we just need your feedback. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate the time. I'm going to stop everything, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.